My TV 53 News at 8:30 is digging deeper right now.
Well, thanks for joining us for My TV 53 News at 8:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We dig deeper with some of the biggest newsmakers in not only the Central Valley, but beyond. And joining us for our second interview is Pastor Owen Williams. He's coming to us from Central Texas via Zoom. Pastor Williams, thank you so much for coming back on. We appreciate your time, and we're glad to talk to you again because we have some new things to discuss.
Thank you for having me back. Yes, we have a few things that we should be discussing today. Yes.
So let's talk first off about your first book. I want to hear about that.
The one we discussed when I was on previously, American Christianity. Oh, that's doing pretty well. We had a nice spurt, I would say about 3-4 weeks ago, where we were number one, on Amazon in the categories of Christian theology and Christian liberation, that kind of stuff. And we stayed there for a good 3-4 weeks. So it's getting some traction. It's moving, and people starting to discover the depth of that book, and the history behind it, and some of the things that are being revealed and how it applies to what's happening in our current society today in America as well as around the world. And the biggest institution in our communities, even bigger than Walmart and been around longer than Ford, is the church. The church, is, you have the Catholic Church, you have the Protestant Church, and many times these institutions, they are in our communities and they are owned by people in the community. So, you'll find the African American AME Church or the Baptist Church, it's owned by, they burn the mortgage and the board, or they own that building and stuff like that. So these institutions, they represent not only houses of worship, but they also represent gathering places and schools and daycares and stuff like that in the communities from that aspect, and that right there, what this book is talking about is, it's what a wonderful place, to really to come together in a community.
What exactly is the standard of confusion in corporations in current day?
All right. And so a couple of years prior to American Christianity, say like back in 2012, I wrote a series of books called The Corporate Christian. And the first one was Christian Beliefs versus Corporate Behaviors. And in that book, we kind of set up, a standard of confusion of how corporations behave. And, when you get a job, in a corporation or any job, corporations strive to be, good citizens, in their communities, and they strive to be conscientious businesses in their communities. So they have what's called, what they promote as a culture of employee development. They develop you. They have this culture where they give a course. You take part in the business and you grow, your ideas are accepted. And they get you into mindsets of unity and diversity, and we come together and we leave all of the nonsense in the world at the door, and we come together to produce the benefit of the corporation and each other. So we kind of put that utopia together. And that is always a great ideology that everybody should strive for. But at the same time, that's a promoted culture. There's now a, unpromoted culture. And that culture is where or unpromoted reality. And you have the favoritism, the cronyism, the nepotism, the corruption, the harassments, abuses, retaliations, gossip, immorality, all these things that happen. You hear about the promoted, but you feel the unpromoted, on a daily basis. Someone else gets a raise over you, or, your work is being copied or plagiarized from that aspect, or, you seek to, you're no longer standing on your own merits from that aspect. So you're looking to have some sort of angel above you, to look out for you from that aspect, which has now become standard operating procedure. It's been around for many years. So You find these things coming out, in capitalistic societies because people are competing, not just corporation to corporation, but within the corporation itself.
So is that kind of, is that more of like the two cultures of corporation?
That's the culture and the subculture,
Okay.
that you have in a corporate setting, where they strive to be, conscientious, and develop people and employee centered, diversity and these kinds of things. They strive for these things. But corporations, are organizations. Churches are supposed to be organisms, but they're kind of organizations, and human beings come in, and that's not always filtered out. So you end up having these, as I said, the isms that take place: the cronyism, the nepotism, the favoritism, the corruptions, and that's the realities that fight against the promoted there. And sadly to say that many times leadership is driving that unpromoted.
Well, as you kind of talk about the two cultures, can you kind of in more detail describe them or identify them for us?
Well, the promoted culture of any corporation, is never the whole story, but rather an edited version of that story. And it's something that they're striving to do, but as I said, it's very difficult to reach. So in this confusion, in this quagmire, you'll find, I go back to King Nebuchadnezzar around 700 BC, when he sat up and he made a statement, in his opinion, look at the beloved Babylon, look empire, look how magnificent it was, and it's a royal dwelling place, and look what I have done. I am God on earth in that aspect there. So you find that. But the reality is that if you spoke to all of the conquered nations and enslaved nations and all of the people who actually did the work and who were forced to do the work and was conscripted to do the work, and all the murdered victims of getting this late workforce together, their opinion and their idea of the Great Babylon would be a little different from his. Right? So we don't have that in a corporation today, but you have, as I said, in these cultures, you will have those who are striving and winning. Or when I say winning, or succeeding to get name recognition, get status, get promoted, may get $40,000, $50,000 raises in 3 or 4 years, compared to those who may get a 3% every 5 to 10 years. It's not working for that person or group of those people. So you create a subculture there. And in a subculture, and you can take it beyond the corporation in society. Money is power. Money is social power, right? Money gets the heiress and the mobster to eat at the best restaurants, live exclusively in the nicest neighborhoods. But the mobster is not going to get it through the way the heiress gets it. He has to deviate and make a subculture, and a deviant behavior in a sense, and we kind of call that crime. So in a sense, in corporations, it's a subculture that that has deviated from the norms to get to the place where they want to be, that aspect. In a reality kind of sense, this is how you identify the characteristics of the promoted and the subcultures that happen.
Before we take our first break, can you give us more detail? Like, what does it mean from a believer versus the employee?
Well, the believer versus the employee is that an employee, when an employee, a Christian employee, someone who believes in faith, they will look at their activities and their job, and they will measure their faith based on the success of their job. So there will be a merging of the synoptic gospels and the faith based on the promoted culture. So I'm doing well. I'm gotten raises. My job is secure. I got my mortgage. Things are good. God has blessed me. And it's a perversion, and it's not a reality of the faith, because no matter how bad my behavior really is, I'm doing well. And this money is proof that the divine is looking down on me, that I'm doing well. Whereas the believer's mindset is, no man can serve two masters. He will either love one or hate the other. And his mindset is that he or she will try to stay as faithful to the principles and the doctrines of the Synoptic Gospels as they can, and make sure that, it may cost them some money, it may cost them some, because their way of thinking is bucking against the promoted culture, but they're at peace with that. So the believer and the employee have, same working together, but two different mindsets.
All right, we're going to talk about your second book right after this break. You're watching My TV 53 News at 8:30. Our guest tonight is Pastor Owen Williams, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to My TV 53 News at 8:30. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do dig deeper with some of the biggest newsmakers in the Central Valley and beyond. And our guest tonight is, once again, Pastor Owen Williams, joining us via Zoom. He is an author, along with being a pastor. And we, in our first segment, just before the commercial break, we were really kind of going into your first book. I want to transition to your second book now. First question. Who is the enemy we are fighting in the second book, and how does the environment affect our behavior?
The second book is a continuation of the first book, because it's a trilogy, a 3-part series, and this book is called "The Battle for Your Beliefs." There, and when we talk about an enemy specifically, we have to be mindful, because many people would look at somebody else as their enemy, who they're competing with, and we don't want to cause division among people, and we do not want to have people disparaging other people. So when you look a little deeper at it, the enemy really is, our real enemy is our ignorance and our insatiable lust for more. So when we don't get what we want, no matter how unrealistic it is, or you have enough in a sense, and the need for more is because you're not utilizing what you have, or you're not appreciating what you have in a sense. We now start to look for scapegoats of why I didn't get it. Oh, well, they're not promoting minorities here, or, we have moved into, an LGBTQ kind of environment, so they're getting the best jobs, or the Me Too movement is now pushing power. And we don't want to focus and say this is the issue, because every human being is a human being from that aspect. So our enemies that we fight really is ourselves, and our mindset and thinking. So it's an ignorant, from ignorant thinking mindset, immature mindset.
I want to get to the third book. Let's talk about that, and then also, and you're going to tell us about this, but to piggyback, what do you mean the hidden war?
Right. Third book, Corporate Christian 3, is the last of the last leg of this trilogy, and this hidden war is the internal struggle, to submit to a divine doctrine, or rebel against that and conform to an immature, evil way of thinking, in a sense. And I say evil not as satanic, but evil in a sense of, disregarding what is good for us and going on our own accord based on the stimuli that comes our way. So it's a hidden war going on the inside. And it looks something like this, that I put on my suit, my tie, my collar, and I go to work. And I'm driving through traffic, and I go through all kinds of ups and downs to get there to a place that I really don't want to be. I'm upset, I'm bitter, I'm resentful from that aspect. But I'm fighting this war because at the end of the day, the finances are still good to my family. It hasn't changed. I'm still paying my bills, my mortgage, and all that stuff there.
I think this is very important. What is you did a case study of Paula. What can you tell our viewers what that's all about?
I am a pastoral counselor. I have a pastoral degree in pastoral counseling from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. And I have over 2,500 hours of clinical pastoral hours under my belt. And Paula is a fictitious case study, and it shows how even our culture's upbringings can affect us in the corporate environment. So Paula is an individual who she is the oldest daughter of a family. And, being the oldest daughter, a lot of the responsibilities fell on her. She was always didn't get to go out a lot because when the parents are out, she had to stay and babysit her children and help babysit her siblings and help her mother with breakfast and stuff in the morning from that aspect. So she grew up being a very conscientious kind of person. She gets into the corporate environment, and that mindset and that attitude continues. So he's helping everybody, co-workers, et cetera. And while she's doing that, she's observing some of the most lackluster, disrespectful behavior going on, this and that. But she's not getting recognition for the work that she's doing. So she becomes resentful in that aspect. And she starts to think about all the time, all things that she's done. And the conversation in her head is, I've done all this and I get nothing back.
We have 1 minute left. How can people find the series, the trilogy, and what's the best way for people to?
It's as of today. It's up with these new book covers designed. It's up on Amazon and all online book retailers, Ingram Sparks, Amazon, KDP. It's out right now. They can go and they can get the trilogy. Can hit each book. It's up in Kindle and paperback, and I'm pretty sure it will hit home in one way or another to every reader that purchases these books, because our commonality is we have to work.
Pastor, we'll see you again next time, next interview, okay?
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll be back, everybody.